A news conference earlier this week, he was lukewarm, to say the least, in his assessment of the franchise quarterback's future with the organization. You need to hear it.
As we sit here today, Ben is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He met with Art Rooney. He met with Coach Tomlin. He met with myself shortly after the season ended. He reiterated that to us, that he wants to continue to play. We told him, quite frankly, we have to look at this current situation. With Ben's current cap number, some adjustment will have to be made, and we anticipate that he could still do some good things moving forward. So hopefully there's a way that we can try to figure out and do what's best for the organization and do what's best for Ben.
All right, RC, I've been waiting all week long to get you on here, to get your reaction to that. You're a longtime Steeler. You played with Ben. What did you hear when you heard Kevin Colbert say that?
Man, Ben, please just retire. Don't make me do this. And listen, Kev is a man's man, right? Kevin Colbert is a football dude. When he was in Detroit, he was a football dude. Ever since he's been in Pittsburgh, he's a football dude. He's not one of these guys that gets on TV and tries to give you quotes or wants to have things that become frontline material, that are headline material. That's not Kevin Colbert. He's telling you the truth, that he does see some things that Ben could do well, but one, this has to work out for us as far as an organization as money is concerned, but also we have to figure out if this is the right thing for our current team moving forward. And I don't necessarily believe it is. Listen, I was on the phone with Troy Polamalu when he was going through these things and when he was released and then when he subsequently retired, and the resentment that he felt because of what he had given to the team and what he had sacrificed. And I know Ben feels the same way. And so when Ben comes out publicly and says, you know what, I'll play for this team for nothing, I don't care about the money, and now puts Kevin Colbert in this publicly difficult situation of a quarterback who won you 2 Super Bowls, who's been your quarterback for over a decade and a half, saying, you know what, I'll work for free. But Kevin Colbert having to look at it and say, you know what, even if it's for free, it might not be for me. It might not be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It might be time to move on. And I think as we sit today, and it's hard to say because, listen, I love Ben. The reason I have a Super Bowl ring is because Big Ben Roethlisberger was big time in a huge moment. It's time to move on. It's time to start over. I don't believe they win a Super Bowl with him at quarterback. And when you got 6 rings and when your whole city and your whole organization is about winning championships, if you have a quarterback that can't take you there, it's time to move on and start trying to find a way to get there. And I think it's that time for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I mean, it's very difficult to argue with what you say. So, Graziano, my insider, I was paying close attention to the words he used. As we sit here today, Ben is a Steeler. Right. He could still do some good things. Not he's going to do some good things. What do you think Colbert is saying there?
Look, I mean, if my wife said to me, as we sit here today, you are my husband, I would not be excited to book the plane tickets for the family vacation in April. I would have to be thinking maybe I'm doing something else at that point. And I think Ben Roethlisberger probably needs to be in that frame of mind. Look, there's no good financial outcome for the Steelers here, right? If he's on the team and they do nothing about the contract, the cap hit is $41.25 million. If he retires, it's still $22.25 million if he retires or is cut. If he wants to play for the minimum and give back all but $1 million of the $19 million he's owed this year, they're still only saving about $17 or $18 million on a cap, and they're way over, and they have free agents, Juju Smith-Schuster, Bud Dupree, James Conner, Alejandro Villanueva, their left tackle. They have young players coming up for contract extensions, guys like TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick. This doesn't make financial sense. If you just looked at it coldly, right, and said, look, these are the books, and this is what it looks like in terms of how to build this year's team, you'd say, oh, you got to cut him. It's Ben Roethlisberger. It's the Steelers. You hear what Ryan Clark is saying, a former Steeler, about how he feels about Ben Roethlisberger. That's the only reason this is tough right now, is because of how long he's been there, what he's done, and what he's meant to them.
What do you think, Nico?
There was a point in the season where they were 11-0, and everyone was jumping on that bandwagon, and then they finished terribly. They lose 3 in a row, lose to the Browns. So then everyone, you remember exactly what you saw last when he was on the football field. You saw the interceptions. You saw the poor play. I saw a team that couldn't run the football, that really couldn't protect the quarterback. They weren't playing They weren't starting fast in these games. So it doesn't some of it does go on the quarterback, but all of it can't go on the quarterback. Some of these throws that were intercepted, they were tipped passes. Guys weren't executing at a high level. And I think at a point in this season when they were 11-0, they kind of hit cruise control, and then other teams were gaining momentum and they got beat. So for them to move forward and move on from Ben Roethlisberger, they're not going to be a better team without Roethlisberger at the quarterback position. It's just going to be impossible. So the cap implications and all the different things that are going to happen with the cap, I don't think that they're going to be able to prevent that because they paid him to win a Super Bowl and that he hasn't gotten there and they haven't done it. But they're not going to be a better team without Roethlisberger.
Super quick, Graziano, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the key. This isn't about blame or punishment, right? If they're moving on from Ben Roethlisberger, it's not because they feel like he did something wrong. It's because can we fix all those problems if he's still taking up this much of our cap? So that's the tricky situation that Kevin Colbert was articulating.
All right, we will talk much more about this as we go. It's not a situation that's going away, but we have to get to the game of the night last night. Carson Wentz got traded. So let's go through the history here. Wentz got drafted 2nd overall in 2016. That's a pick the Eagles traded for the Browns to get. They gave up 5 picks, including a couple of first-rounders. Now, the Eagles have made the playoffs 3 times, but never won a playoff game with Wentz as their starting quarterback. Nick Foles actually started 5 of the 6 playoff games. And then yesterday, of course, the Eagles trading Wentz to Indianapolis. They get back less than half the picks they gave up to acquire him. They get a 3rd-rounder this year and a conditional 2 in 2022. And so I have a million questions about this, and the guy who's got the answers is our Eagles reporter, Tim McManus, who joins us. And I guess the first place I want to start, Tim, is with the future of the quarterback position now in Philadelphia. This is not something they probably expected to have to address for a very long time. What's next now at that position in Philly?
Agreed. I think we should at least be bracing for the possibility of another quarterback controversy here in Philadelphia. Now, they like Jalen Hurts. He has advocates in the building, none bigger than owner Jeffrey Lurie. And one of the reasons they felt comfortable moving on from Wentz is because they had Hurts on the roster. That being said, we shouldn't be shocked if they explore heavily the possibility of looking at a quarterback at number 6 overall in April's draft. What do we know about this organization? They like to invest heavily at the quarterback position. They're feeling the weight of getting this pick right. They're going to be looking at quarterbacks and all the other positions to see who's the very best player. And if they feel that a QB gives them the best shot moving forward long term in what's going to be a rebuild, then it could be a QB. Whether it's Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, we should be bracing for the possibility of a quarterback here in Philly.
And how would you describe, so we'll look at that situation, and obviously that'll play itself out over the next couple of months. How would you describe the Eagles' internal reaction to what they wind up getting back in this deal? I just went through it. They traded so much away to get this guy. One of the picks they traded away turned into Deshaun Watson, and now this is what they get back, and they never win a playoff game. How do they wake up this morning after all this goes down?
Not thrilled. They recognize that the return they got versus what they invested in this quarterback does not match up. But the reality is that they were selling at a low point. Carson Wentz was coming off the worst year of his career, one of the worst years of any quarterback in the NFL last year. He's due to make $47 million over the next 2 seasons, and he's got some questions about coachability that he needs to answer. And that was known throughout the league, and so the market was pretty warm. There was one team that was really hot after him because of the connection between Frank Reich and Wentz, and that was the Colts. And so I don't think that the Eagles wake up happy about this, but recognize that it was fair market value, all things considered.
All right, Tim McManus, thanks a million for getting up here. We appreciate it. Really well done. Let me bring my crew back in. And, oh, by the way, did I mention, and it was on your screen there, next year the salary cap is expected to be about $185 million. For the Eagles, $34 million of that will be dead money that they're paying Carson Wentz not to play quarterback for them. So this couldn't have worked out worse for them. RC, I did not get to ask you as we opened the show this morning. What do you think of the situation now? Jalen Hurts, if you're making the decisions there, is he your quarterback?
You know, it's tough. And here's why it's tough. If you see a guy in this